Yep.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome to this Accelerated Seduction Program extra special event. I have a guy that you probably have heard of at least once or twice, Joshua Pellicer.
Hello.
Author of The Tao of Badass, creator of pretty much everything.
Creator of all that is.
All that is.
No, I'm just happy to be here to do this. So what we really wanted to go over, I guess, during this experience, like during this interview, or the purpose of it rather, is to really give you a deeper, like in-depth look at more of the things that we wouldn't typically talk about.
Right.
Like that people would ask questions if they knew to ask them, but most people don't know to ask these kinds of questions. So It's going to be very informative, most likely, and it'll be, I don't know the questions ahead of time. Brad put this together, so you get to see me surprised.
Yeah, we're going to put you under the lights. We're going to get all the secrets that nobody else can get.
Yeah, it's things that I don't think about saying. So,
yeah.
Which is good. I think that's a good idea. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's get started right with the questions, and we'll just kind of go from there and see where it takes us.
Okay.
So the first question, I think a lot of guys would have a lot of questions about just how this process looks. I mean, reading The Tao of Badass, going through a lot of the different materials, you can kind of imagine how it might look, but
yeah.
I mean, you've seen it in yourself, in your
coaches.
It's
impossible to imagine.
Yeah, in your students, and it is something that like most people probably don't really even believe exists when they first start reading. Mm-hmm. So we'll just go through the process of kind of outlining, what it really looks like. So, First question I have is in what you've seen over the years, like who is sort of a picture of someone who is really good at attracting women despite being poorly suited for it?
Do you mean like people that I've met like through courses, things like that? Or like people that everybody would know?
Let's start with people that you've seen go through courses and stuff. Like someone who you think might be poorly suited to be the kind of guy who, would go out and women would look at him and they would get good results from women.
Okay. So I think the first thing is there's a difference in the way that I perceive this whole, everything probably, than how most people perceive it, this experience. Sort of like if you were to ask me what I think about someone else, I'm going to have to tell you in a different way is what I'm trying to say. So it might come out a little weird is my point.
Okay.
And we can talk more about it.
That's the disclaimer for the whole interview, by the way.
We'll get to the bottom line eventually, but I don't think that there is a type of person who's not suitable for this process and for attracting women. Like not well suited, rather.
Okay.
Sorry, not suitable, but not well suited for it already. Like the problem isn't that people are lacking something; it's that they have something that isn't real, like some fear of rejection or things like that. It's an adding on of stuff that is annoying. I guess the only thing that would make someone ill-suited for this sort of task ahead, really the journey ahead, is somebody who wasn't willing to let go of that stuff. That's the only thing, and I can't tell it when I look at somebody,
right? Just
like in a lineup, which one's which. But you can tell whenever they start talking and integrating everything. Because instead of like going, okay, I sucked at that, I'm getting better. Okay, what's next? They're like, I've been practicing over here. Like they just have excuses for everything, and it's just they want to hold on to their beliefs, but a lot of things they believe are not true, and so that's the problem. That's the biggest difference I think between someone who's well suited and someone who isn't. But as far as like what I think you probably mean is like someone who you would look at, the average person would look at and go, what the fuck? How can that guy get women?
Right.
I would probably use myself as the first one because I know myself the best, I guess, and that would be like, and I was really, really, really bad, but no one believes that, so I got to talk with somebody else. If you had known me when I was younger, you would believe it, but somebody else. Yeah. Let me think about this. I've done, hundreds of boot camps. So I'm trying to think back. I'll just think of the most recent one I can think of.
Okay.
Right, that you would probably guess would not be suited. And that was someone in Europe. There's no doubt about it. That guy in Europe, he was a Russian guy, and he was in the Munich program. And I can't remember his name right now off the top of my head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
From Luxembourg, actually.
Oh, yeah, him too. Actually, both of those are great examples. But no, there was a guy in Munich that was Russian. He came in a day late to the boot camp, and but he was there on the whole time. He's a member, a very active member as well. Anyway, so I'll just describe this guy. And if you're watching, this is, this shouldn't be a surprise to you. You do really well, regardless of like the things I'm about to mention about your personality and about your, just style and everything. When you came in, when this guy came in, I'm talking directly to him now.
Yeah.
But when he came in, I was like, okay, one thing is that, you know what? He's even better than this. Nick.
Okay.
Nick is way better example than this guy. I mean, not to defame this guy at all, but Nick is like, I don't know what. I guess something happened when he was younger, and his facial structure had shrunk in the front. I think his jawline shrunk. So basically, he's got a very thin skeletal structure in his head. I don't know how no one ever talks about this. Obviously, it's like it's so obvious and normal it doesn't matter anymore. But you'd think that someone like Nick, with like this really obvious difference in the way his face is structured, that he would have a hard time, and his teeth are all messed up. He just doesn't care. He smokes cigarettes, But he's one of the best I've ever seen. He's phenomenal at it.
So amazing.
But the thing is that you would, if that happened to you watching, if you woke up tomorrow and it was like your skeletal structure was different than everybody else's, and it was noticeable and you couldn't hide it, and I said, okay, go talk to that chick, you would cry.
Right.
There's no way you could do that.
Yeah.
It's just really nuts to think of how good he is and how no one ever even brings it up. It's like it's as if he just mind controls people into thinking that there's nothing going on, But he's really fantastic with women, and he doesn't let him hold him back. That's what's really important. Yeah. It's really about frame control. That's what it's really about. It's not about when you go out what you think about yourself. It's what you can have. You can make other people think about you. That's what that's all about. Because who gives a shit what you think about yourself?
Yeah.
That's just you with your thoughts by yourself. I mean, that does matter to you, of course. But that's just you when you're alone. It doesn't really affect everybody else directly unless you start projecting it outward. Like saying I'm attractive. If I say that, if I show that to people outwardly, then it affects the world around me. But if I just think about it myself, it doesn't do anything. And I can think that I'm attractive, but I can be like, all you women have terrible taste because you don't pick me.
Yeah.
But really, it's this game that we're playing is about frame control. And the funny thing about frame control is that whoever takes it has it. It's not as if someone.
There's always a frame.
Owner. Yeah, there's always a frame.
And it's always up for grabs.
Yeah, and by just to bust a myth around the word frame. Mm-hmm. It's a really odd thing to talk about because it doesn't exist physically.
Yeah,
but there's a tension. But basically, anytime you meet someone for the first time, the first thing you run into is their belief structure, how they operate in the world. Right? These people might be. One guy may be of the belief that he is an underdog, that he is he's not even rooted for like an underdog. He's just an underdog, kind of cast off and alone, right? Mm-hmm. When you run into somebody, that's the first thing you see is what they project at you, their beliefs. He acts like that. He talks like that. He wants you to believe that that's his reality, right? But if you don't see him that way, let's say he's sitting in a BMW, right? And he's got a wallet full of cash, right? And you're looking at him and you don't see him that way, you'll go, what? Dude, I don't buy your shit. I don't buy your belief structure, right? I see something else. This is my belief structure is like this. Yours is like that. Yours sucks. Mine's awesome, and it seems to be obvious, right? So you're going to fight this person. If they're like, no, life sucks and blah, blah, you're going to go, look at you, dude. You're not going to believe them. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's a frame battle. A frame battle is any interaction where two belief structures are at war with each other because they're inconsistent, and one is the overarching winner, basically, eventually, and that belief structure, everyone else lives into that belief structure. This is how social hierarchies are born. This is like the the cosmic dust of society. the thing that makes everything.
It exists on a huge scale as well as a tiny scale, like a one-on-one interaction.
Mm-hmm. Even this
now,
one.
There's a frame that exchanges all the time, and it's always up for grabs. That'll happen anytime you walk into a coffee shop, anytime you're talking to your brother and sister. Like, there's always a frame going on, and there's different kind of flavors, and there seems to be like people kind of have a go-to frame,
Yeah.
They might have one type of frame that works really well. Like mine in the past, since I'm more of an emotional person, was to drag people into an emotional frame, you know? Like, okay, no matter what else is happening, you guys are like trying to give me facts and stuff. I'm just gonna like if I really needed to win the frame, I would go super emotional and be like, just start crying or whatever. Like I literally would do that, to win ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So you might have like a go-to thing that you do when you want to win a frame. Maybe it's just like being super analytical and just like analyzing something till nobody can argue with you anymore.
Or filibustering, like just talking.
Yeah.
So that no one else can get into word.
Or just being like super macho and tough and being like, man up, stop being a pussy or whatever. Like putting it out there. Because that's what works for you.
These are all your general modes of operating in the world. And these are just... The reason why you have so many modes is because there are so many modes in the world to operate within. Because there is no standard, because it's all made up. All the context is made up. So that's one of the most amazing things about this process, is that as you start to dive in, you realize that all of the constructs over which attraction and seduction and all that stuff and social interaction are all built on top of, the frame is made up. So all you have to do is make it up. And then it becomes true in society. That's what society is about. If you think about money, money is like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. What
is it? No one knows what it is. It's some kind of exchange of value, But what is value? It's whatever you think is valuable.
Yeah.
But they standardize it by putting money around it, and then everyone focuses on that thing instead of, their own personal belief structures and wondering why they believe things. It's way easier.
It's easier to focus on that thing.
It's easier to focus on everything outside of you, right?
Right.
So, getting back to kind of the point here about frames and what it means to have a strong frame. If you know that everyone's making up all their frames and making up all their beliefs, you don't have to back down on your frame. They're gonna crack at some point. You just have to be good at fighting and winning frame battles, They're going to crack. Why? Because at the core of who they are is made up. You know that. They don't. So they're running away from that the whole time, right? At some point, they'll get so close to that truth that they won't be able to handle it, and they'll jump into your frame. That's how this works, I've never described it ever so clearly before. But it's basically like you stay in your frame no matter what happens, unless they have a frame that you prefer to have, by the way. If there's a frame that you're like, oh, that seems much better than mine, just drop yours and take theirs. Like that's a no-brainer, right? Yeah. But
it's not always about winning. I would say that you don't always want to win the frame.
You can't really win it. That's the point.
Yeah.
If you already have your frame, the only thing that happens is that people around you have your frame too. It doesn't change you. It just changes your interaction with people around you. So there's no real winning. It just changes stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
But just to kind of tie a bow around that frame thing then.
Okay.
And to kind of just reiterate a little bit. Your frame is made up of beliefs. If you know that your frame is fake, it doesn't really matter. Meaning that your personality, basically, everything about Brad or you is just made up. You consistently keep it going, but you made it up. Then you can change it to however you want, which is the good news. And anytime you run into somebody else who doesn't know, who isn't okay with the fact that at the core of who they are, they're making all this stuff up too, if they're not okay with that, you have ultimate power and control over everything. Because you're willing to go to that place and go, look, strip everything away. This is all made up. It's not real. And neither is anything you're doing. They won't be able to accept that, most likely. Worst case scenario is they do accept it. Yay! And then everything's great. But so the point is, the further you go on your own, like deconstruction of what you built into your personality, the more things you take. And by the way, this is really vague sounding. Let me get specific. Like,
okay,
like you like, what do you like? What's something that you like that? You like Irish culture, generally, right?
Yeah.
You kind of identify with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're not Irish.
Right.
You're also not American.
Right.
You're nothing in. It's just made up, right? It's just where you were born at the time, and someone else told you because you're born here at this time, you're called this thing.
Yeah.
But it's made up. It doesn't actually mean anything.
Right.
So everything that you do that's identifying yourself with Irish, like I drink Guinness. Why? Because it's Irish.
Yeah.
You know, anything like that, or I'm
nice because I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
All that
I've got
stuff.
a temper because whatever.
Yeah, all the becauses, basically. Yeah. All that is made up. And so, the more you realize that and let all that go, the more you can adjust and move around, like be like water, like Bruce Lee. You know, like Bruce Lee always said. To be like water, you have to not be like earth, you know? Not be like solid and hard all the time. Not be like ice or rigid, and not be like fire. Yeah, you got to be.
You have to be able to adapt to any situation.
Yeah. So you can't have anything in the way.
And the thing is, that might sound a little overwhelming. You might think you need a specific tool for every single situation, but really you need no tools.
Yes, you need to be a blacksmith.
You need to
be able to make tools.
Be able to make tools.
A tool master.
Yeah.
Tool master.
Tool master. You need to be a giant tool master.
Lots of tools.
Tool master.
But the point is, though, that really is it. I mean, it's not about learning one skill or being one thing. It's about not being anything, so you can adjust in the moment. That's what allows you to be fluid. So
I guess we'll continue with the questions, and throughout that process, I'm positive we'll illuminate that further.
Okay, sure.
People. The next one is similar, but kind of a different flavor, and that is who is good at attracting women that shouldn't be. So this would be somebody that the average viewer would recognize from their life, you know?
I mean, Bill Clinton, the first person that comes to mind.
Okay.
The immediate thing that people think is that Bill Clinton's rich, but he's not really as rich as a lot of people, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the president, but that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. He's not anymore, right? Yeah. He still has status, though, and he keeps his status up by actually what he did is learn how to talk. Learn how to be charismatic. There's secrets to it, and there's
a formula to being charismatic.
Yeah,
charisma is not something that you're born with or born without.
Yeah, you learn it. That's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the point you're making from these things.
Yeah.
You know, who do I know and who do they know that shouldn't be good with women but is? You know, they are very good.
So why would you say Bill Clinton shouldn't be good at women?
Well, if you take away all of his status and his charm and make him the average person and put him back there, you know, he would just be shitting himself. You know, he wouldn't be attractive at all. He's, you know, everything about his character is kind of a little bit sleazy and weird, you know, slimy almost, but not like over the top. But if you took the charisma away, you'd see all that stuff, you know? Like, if you took all the stuff that you give value to away, what does he do? What does it look like? Would you go, that's the kind of guy, you know?
Yeah.
Because anything that you can change about somebody to make them good, right? Mm-hmm. Make them better with women or whatever. Anything that you can change about somebody, you can change too. So anything they can change, you can change as well. What one man can do, another man can do, right? Mm-hmm. So you're looking for stuff that if you took away all the good stuff, would they still be attractive? You know, there's tons of people like this. Almost every band member ever is like this. You know,
Mick Jagger? Are you kidding
Mick Jagger
me?
looks like a box of used condoms.
Oh, God.
It looks, I mean, it's gross. You know?
He's gross. But he's sexy.
He is. You know, you can't, it's not about that, obviously. Something else is going on here. That's the point, right? And what's going on is that what we build attraction on is not what we think it is, you know? The reasons why we're attracted to somebody else is not really what we think, you know? There's, women are attracted to men not for the same reasons that men are attracted to women. That's the point. That's what you got to get through your head. Everyone does, you know? Mm-hmm. You have to realize that when you look at a girl, you go, she's hot because she looks sexy. The end, you know? And then when you talk to her, she can get unhot, I guess, you know? But women look at guys, and even if they're hot, they don't have the same association that you do. You go, hot equals green light, you know? In this case, hot is not an equal green light for women.
Right.
Or, better yet, what they call hot is not the same. If they see an ugly guy who's acting very confident, they'll give him the green light. It's much more advanced than our system for detecting attraction.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we have a pretty straightforward system for attraction as men.
Yeah.
And women's is like complex, just like everything they do.
Well, the reason why is because, I mean, this would be my guess. You know, imagine that you are, by design, physically weaker.
Right.
Than half the people in the world. You know?
Playing a different game.
You're playing a totally different game than the people who have the ability to be physically stronger. You know? I mean, you have to be able to manipulate the world around you. It has to be a complex environment. And we as men are stepping into that environment going, it's not complicated. It's really simple, really. You're hot, and I like your titties.
Yeah.
So show them to me. You know? Like, but that doesn't work, obviously. You know, I mean, it might sometimes, but only when that girl's in that frame of mind, you know?
Right.
But typically women aren't. They're looking at this going, they come into this world frightened by us. Not like automatically frightened, you know? Automatically they're nurtured and they feel comfortable, but as soon as we start pulling their hair and make them feel alienated and stuff, like we all do, you know, as little boys, then, you know, they start to wonder if something's wrong. They get to a place where they get to the business world, and this is where everything really gets screwed up. They get to the business world, and it's like, be a man or, you know, be a secretary.
Right.
Act like a man or be a secretary. Right. So women just switch gender roles, and all sorts of shit goes crazy. Their world's very complicated because they realize that it's not survival of the fittest anymore. It's survival of the socially fittest. And that's why women were ruling the world, you know?
Yeah.
But as men...
They've been mastering this game for thousands of years. We're kind of new at it.
Well, we are, you know? Because they just needed to, you know? It's not that women rule the world openly. That wouldn't work, right?
They don't.
Because we would fight
That's their leadership style, too. I mean,
that's how it works.
Women lead often.
Yeah.
And they're phenomenal at it, but they do it in a different way. It looks different than the way that we lead.
Yeah, well, they're just enticing us. They were little puppets.
They leave little breadcrumbs for men to step into.
Yeah, and if you see this game happening, then on one hand, it could be outraging the first time you see it. Like, I'm being led around by all these women, and
right.
you know, I'm owned by everybody. But at the same time, it's a very entertaining process.
For example, it could also be a really positive thing once you start to see this, because you realize, oh, she's standing with her back to me, next to me, because she wants me to talk to her.
Yeah.
She can't talk to me. That would violate her social, value. Mm-hmm. But she's leading in a feminine way.
She wants me to talk to her.
She wants me to talk to her.
It's the same as her, as she already is talking to you. It's like, it's the male equivalent of her walking up and being like, hey, you're really cute.
Right.
You know? But
if she has, if she's concerned with their social value, which most women are, and especially in their immediate, surrounding, she literally cannot come up to you and be like, "You're hot, want to bang." Like, that's not.
She can, but it violates her social value.
Yeah,
she does it, and when most women do that, they're afraid that they're going to not be protected anymore, which isn't actually the case. But it's just a giant fear that's across everybody.
Yeah.
Once you leave the tribe, you're going to be smushed, by some scary monster. So anyway, get back to the question again.
Okay, yeah.
Who's good? Bill Clinton was who I mentioned, but there are plenty others. I mean,
Mick Jagger's a good example.
I mean, he's a great example. But if you take somebody who's not, let's take somebody who's not like, doesn't have social value like that, but is still good with women. They wouldn't know who it is actually, though, because anybody who you see on TV has social value because lots of people look at them.
Right.
But if you think about this,
maybe like an archetype or something, like somebody you might see.
Well, let's take Brad Pitt, because Brad Pitt, when he first moved to Hollywood, couldn't get a date, and then later on, once he started acting and his value went up, he could, but nothing had changed in his appearance whatsoever or in his actions whatsoever.
Right.
The only thing changed is he thought all of a sudden that he was worth more,
right?
And so he acted differently from that place, not like he was trying to do something different. Nothing physically changed except his mental attitude, which changed his physical appearance, which then changed everyone else's reaction to him and created that world around him. It's not like, it's funny, it's not like a chicken. It's like everyone wants to wonder what came first, the chicken or the egg. And their answer is, who gives a fuck? As long as you have chickens and eggs. We have both now. Who fucking cares,
Who gives a cluck?
Who gives a cluck? But that is the point, The point is, you can either sit there all day thinking about that, or you can eat your eggs and have your chicken if you want it,
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it is. We don't need to figure out which one it is. Which one came first is my point. We don't need to figure out where this all came from.
So we don't need to figure out, like, what Brad Pitt does with his hair to look good so that women like him.
No.
That whole question is irrelevant.
That and, Brad Pitt's a sex symbol because fill in the blank, you know. The truth is you don't know why he is. I probably have a pretty good idea, considering the path that he went, the path that I went, the path that everyone I know that gets attractive goes. I'm guessing that he went the same way that I and everyone else do, which is first you go, fuck this, I'm sick of this being nobody bullshit, and I'm sick of this not being looked at bullshit. I'm going to change my character so that I do get looked at. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen, And then he was like, okay, I'm going to be a better actor. And then he just fucking studied his ass off and got good. And then he played the roles. Yeah. Played the roles perfectly, and then his whole life was that, And then everything else fell in place, because that was his decision. But he made a decision. Fuck this. I'm not going to take this anymore, basically. I'm not going to handle this. This is bullshit. I'm not going to live my life subpar. If I can change it, I'm going to change it. If I can't, I'm going to die trying. That's really what it's about, So, yeah.
Okay.
The end.
All right. So what are some of the more controversial or unorthodox methods that you've seen in either taught or that you've just encountered in behavior or something with attraction and seduction?
Unorthodox that other people are using or that I'm using?
Either.
Well, unorthodox doesn't necessarily mean good or effective, right? I mean, if there's unorthodox and effective, then I can tell you all sorts of those. There are too many that are unorthodox and ineffective, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's not bother with those.
Yeah. So weird methods. Yeah. Eric Saido is a guy who goes by Hypnotica.
Okay.
And he would make people strap dildos to their heads and walk around.
So that was a teaching method, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a practice method.
Practice method.
Teaching is a very big difference, really. And results don't come from learning. They come from practice, obviously. Knowledge comes from learning, but knowledge is worthless. All that knowledge is a means to application. So if you don't apply it and practice it, it doesn't matter. That was one of the great things about Eric, is that's what he would do. He would just be like, let's just go for results, And anybody that does that comes up with some crazy shit. We used to do soccer walk, which is one that I retired eventually. You don't know about this?
Soccer walk?
Yep, it's called soccer walk.
Okay.
And so for a while I was studying, and I got pretty good at neuro-linguistic programming. And I did this deconstructive walking hypnosis that would deconstruct their personality and take them to the point of death and then take them out of it, So basically bring them to the rock bottom mentally so that they could see what that was like. And then as they walk away from rock bottom, it's like every step they take is like they feel 10 times better than they did when they started or the step before. It's amazing, right? So we do this on a soccer field. Start in the center, and every time you take a step, you would basically just increase pain, whatever it is. Things that you never want to admit about yourself, like, I'm a joke, I'm a failure. Everyone that I know that knows me laughs about me behind my back. Just really believe it. Close your eyes, and it's one step at a time. And and I was guiding people in this, until they accept it right there in that moment and really make it vivid and real, they can't take the next step, and they keep doing it until eventually they're basically nothing and nobody and dead inside and outside and worthless, And then there's a trigger I used to throw in, which was I would walk them into the soccer net with their eyes closed. So they don't know how far they've gone, where they are, And as they were stepping through that last bit, which is the scariest thing they'd ever experienced, and they had to just accept it, they'd feel a net all over their face. So it would shock the shit out of them. Most guys had severe out-of-body experiences whenever I did that. In that moment, they'd be like, am I on the ground anymore? You couldn't tell anymore because it was so fucking intense what we were doing. So then we'd walk the other way, and eventually you get to a place where you're super confident on the way out, physically as you walk. And
okay.
That was called soccer walk, and I did that with probably about 10, 15 people until eventually I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's just too risky. If someone walks up in the middle of the experience and goes, hey, guys, can I ask you a question? You're fucked.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck in some crazy vortex of pain.
Right.
And you haven't gone out the other side yet. So I stopped doing that.
What did that look like for those guys, though, after they went through that?
Oh, they were jumping up and down, like, just super confident, just, like, unafraid of anything.
They could just, like, go approach anybody.
Yeah, that was silly. The thought of being afraid of approaching somebody was silly, you know? Because all fear is comparative, you know? You don't fear sticking your toothbrush in your mouth every morning, but you would fear sticking a gun in your mouth every morning, you know? I mean, it really, though, it's not, the action isn't what you're afraid of. Putting something in your mouth isn't what you're afraid of, you know? It's comparison. Everything's about comparison for everybody, you know? This feels good compared to what? You know? If you always felt really awesome, then feeling good you wouldn't call that feeling good. You would just be like, oh, I don't know, this is normal, right? So anyway, so those guys were comparing everything to the worst case scenario, which they accepted. You know? Which
was their own...
Which is basically...
death.
I guess, yeah, death or the big boogeyman, the scary thing, whatever it is, you know? The thing that's coming to get them, you know? The thing they don't want to admit to themselves in their heads. All the things that they don't want to be true, you know? All the things that they convince themselves aren't true every day, you know? I'm important. I'm smart. I'm desirable, you know? You just accept that none of those are true as you walk down this deep, terrible, imagined path, you know? Tunnel to nothingness. And then, once you get to the end, turn around, and as you walk back out, it's like everything's compared to that. So, whereas before you could have been crying about something on the way back out, you're like, it's all cool. It's all okay, you know?
Would you do this process to yourself?
I did.
So how would you do it to yourself?
Hypnotizing yourself's hard because you have to get yourself into the right mental state. But basically, it's about controlling your mind wandering. If you can keep your mind from wandering to different places, then you can do this to yourself. I would just stood in the middle of the soccer field, you know. Johnny was over there as the guy I was doing it with. He was on the other side of the soccer field. We were both in the middle, but he was on the other side. And we just went at our own pace and walked, and I wouldn't take the next step until it was like, really, I had accepted all the terribleness, you know. It's interesting. You know how they say, this is like a really common phrase, but they say, when you got nothing to lose, you know. Fight Club, there was a line where he says, it's only when we lost everything that we were free to do anything, you know. Yeah. Tyler Durden says that. And this is basically what this is talking about. Once you stop trying to hang on to all the shit that you want to happen and you want to be true in your life, then you can see things clearly. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Things aren't so scary anymore, approaching women, blah, 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 you know. That shit's easy. Doesn't even matter, you know. So go have a good time with it. That's what everyone wants. That's the mental, emotional shift they want. They want to get to a place where they're not holding on to all this bullshit they're dragging around with them. But in order to do that, you got to let go. In order to let go, you have to accept all the scary things you think are going to happen, like being alone forever or whatever, right? You got to just be like, okay, fine, I'll be alone forever, fine. You know. So, anyway, that's that. That got deep real quick, but it was one of the techniques that I actually retired because it was so intense. And there are a bunch more, but I don't want to go into too many because I want to still use those things. I like the surprise, and they're not surprised, and they don't work as well.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Secrets.
Cool. So you've met a lot of other teachers in the industry too. Who would you say are some of the most impressive teachers that people might not know about?
Teachers or for what though?
Teachers or examples of the types of guys that you know community members would want to be like. I mean, as far as modeling their behavior with women, with leading other people with success, you know.
I would say that first, those are two different types of people. You know, people that are good to model and people that are good teachers. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find both in the same person. If I had to think about those people, man, who is a person like this? Personally, I like Rob Judge a lot. I think he's pretty much like this. He doesn't tell people to climb mountains he hasn't climbed, you know? Mm-hmm. Everything that he teaches, he's pretty much done. And he understands it in a really intellectual way, and he can teach it well. And he's quirky and kind of introverted and quiet a lot of times, but he can turn it on. Mm-hmm. That's really what. Oh, Richard LaRuena is another one. This guy. Yeah. I mean, he's like that's a Richard Gambler. In case people haven't heard of him, he's a pickup artist guy. He wrote a book. What was his book called?
His most recent one was called The Natural.
The Natural. That was his most recent book. But yeah, he is very he's the kind of guy you might imagine would be talking to you about Pokemon.
Yeah.
Super sweet, very reserved, very submissive in his body language around people just in general. But as soon as he wants to turn it on, he just turns it on and gets whoever he wants, and then turns it off. It's really cool to see people do that because that means that they own the character. The character doesn't own them.
Yeah.
A lot of people, most people, are owned by the character. From what let's see. Let's just stick with those two or the people that I know of that are both, right?
Yeah.
People who are good to model. Anybody who's good to model, you're going to take up their positive and their negative qualities. This is important. Mm-hmm. So, whoever it is you want to model specific things from them, but not everything. One of the characters I would model is actually Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. It's a cartoon, just like an anime cartoon that I watched when I was younger. And his character was awesome, except that he wouldn't let go some girl that he was in love with forever ago, and so his life meant nothing, and that's why he did everything, right? But he wasn't afraid of anything, and that was cool. And he was very straightforward and honest with people. Didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't pretend like he cared, And he would just walk away if he didn't want to be there anymore, Just kind of living in the moment. So that I liked about him, Yeah. Get up and leave. But I like that about him. But eventually I realized that in order to be like him in my mind, I was also hanging on to my ex-girlfriend, and I had built the whole character in my mind, Okay. And then I was like, I can't do that. That's the bad part. He's not the perfect character. I'm not the perfect character for anybody else either. You take what's good and then you leave what's not. You take what works for you and you leave everything else.
But living like him for a while got you to see some things that you wouldn't have seen with the character you were sort of using before.
Yeah, I would, this is what I did at the last boot camp when we were out on Sunday. It was in Australia, and it was a Sunday night. We went out just to hang out and have a good time, and one of the guys that was there was like, what's your advice to me to go up there and talk to this girl? And I was like, look, just forget everything you know and everything you learned, and pretend like you're me for 10 minutes, and see what you can do pretending like you're me. It won't be me. It'll be your perception of me, but it'll give yourself permission to do things differently.
Yeah.
And he went over, and it was fucking easy. Perfect. Everything was perfect. He flirted, had a good time. They were giggling, laughing. They're both really attractive. He was 16 or 18, rather. I mean, he was really young, but he just let go of his character and started just changing it, I
started doing that with banter and body language a lot. Mm-hmm. Just basically, I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to find a banter line for every situation and whatever, and try to figure out all the individual pieces of body language. And then I was just like, what? Forget it. I'm just gonna pretend I'm Josh for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the biggest jumps in banter that I saw was. I just started doing the things that I had noticed that you do on a regular basis for banter.
Like what? Just to kind of give people an example.
Playful misinterpretation.
Okay.
Taking something literally when the person who said it obviously didn't mean that literally.
Right. Like what?
So something that sort of grew out of this was, when I'd be talking to somebody at a bar or whatever, and at some point I'd say, where are you from? And they say, I'm from here. And I'd be like, oh, you're from here, this bar. Uh-huh. That must have been very interesting. What an interesting childhood. Were you born in the back? Do you have a bed here or whatever? And something like that I wouldn't have come up with on my own because I was trying to figure out, I was trying to make a one-to-one connection to every single banter line or concept. And and I had heard some people kind of give the advice of like, well, go to an improv class to get good at banter. Well, I didn't want to go to an improv class.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't blame you.
That's great, but what I actually discovered, I figured out what improv was from doing this, from just pretending I was you for a little while, as far as the banter goes, and that was also how I discovered hand movements, like the way that you move your hands. I just started doing that, and I saw a massive change in response from people.
Yeah,
you know.
The funny thing about
I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just
pretending. It doesn't even matter.
You
You don't need to know.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
But now it's becoming part of me.
Yes.
You know.
Now, you take the good part.
Yeah, I've taken the parts that worked, and that's just like I don't even think about it anymore. You know. Now it's not banter like that. I would say that's probably like the biggest myth about banter that I even believed was that there has to be like a one-to-one, like, okay, well, what do I say when I'm standing next to a girl in a coffee shop and there's a guy that's next to her that might, you know, like, it's not that.
Scenario-based.
It's taking things away, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the basic concept there?
Yeah, what works regardless of whether or not there's a guy standing there and, you know, her back's turned to me or whatever, you know?
I've seen you just, like, keep bantering and bantering and bantering as a form of frame control until whoever is going back and forth with you just relents, you know? And you can keep going because you have an infinite supply because you're not trying
it doesn't mean anything.
You're not matching. You don't have a witty remark planned in your head. You're just taking whatever they say and playfully misinterpreting it.
Yeah.
And you could do that ad nauseum.
Yeah, you can do it forever. Until you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That is, and one of the best things to interpret it as, if a girl's talking to you, especially in like a bar environment or something, is that she just hit on you. You know?
Yeah.
That's like, if you can just misinterpret anything she's saying, like she's hit, not everything, but if you have the ability to do anything that she says and misinterpret it like she's hitting on you, then it works out really well. That was one of this guy named Owen Cook's ideas. He went by Tyler Durden a lot. He was a pickup artist guy. But he sort of realized that, I think, first, probably, or before I did, you know.
Race is amazing at this as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. But Tyler, or Owen, was there first, you know. Race learned it from Kelly. Kelly, who's doesn't do this anymore, he's a DJ now in New York. Kelly's phenomenal at this. Kelly didn't learn it from Owen.
Yeah.
You know, he learned it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But basically, it's letting go of needing a response.
Right.
When you do that, you kind of float around in the current moment with nothing to do, and that's scary, you know? But go through the fear, because on the other side of that is, like, what you're looking for.
And then you're charming.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what charm is. Charm is not that you have, like, a prepared line for every situation ever, and you memorize them like a times table. Charm is that you have this basic process that is, okay, doesn't matter who they are, how old they are, what gender they are. If they say something to me, I have the option of playfully misinterpreting that. Yeah. And I can take it any direction I want.
And you can be, it's funny, is that you can actually take a conversation away from wherever they were going and toward your interpretation just by going there. Like, if you were saying, Josh, I don't want to be the one to have to tell you this, and it really hurts me to tell you, you know. I know whatever's about to come out of your mouth is probably going to be something just that's terrible, right? If I didn't want to talk about that, I could be like, well, you don't want to tell me because, and I'll just ask you questions, right? Yeah. You don't want to tell me because because you don't have time or something? Do you have to go somewhere? And you're like, no, I don't have to go anywhere. Because if you did, that'd be fine. Like, we can just reschedule this. It's not a big deal. I have to go somewhere in 5 minutes anyway, you know? It kind of got late getting going this morning, you know?
Right. So now we're talking
about my day.
Your day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay.
So,
like, that's not why I would use it.
Right.
Do you want to plug your computer back in?
Yeah.
I just realized it was unplugged.
Okay.
I'll keep going. This will be part of the video.
Classy.
Stay classy, San Diego.
This will be part of the video.
So, I'm not saying use it for stuff like when someone's going to tell you bad news, right? That's ridiculous. But that was just an example. Let's say that I wanted to flirt, but you want to keep asking me serious questions, you know? And you're
that's
a girl.
A very
common
useful.
One. Yeah. So I'm in a bar, you know, talking to a girl, and she keeps asking me what seem to be boring questions.
What do you do?
Yeah. What do you? Oh, that's different. See, if she's asking me like that, like your face toward me, you're leaning in, you're exaggerating your emotion with it. That means you've asked me before. right?
Okay.
And I keep batting it away.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I would go if at that point if I banter again, it's over. So she's trying to go into rapport really hard. I have to do one of two things. I have to either say, I want to get to know you. Like, I can't wait for that to happen. And when it happens, I'm stoked and I have so many questions for you. And that'll happen in probably like 20 minutes. But until then, I want to be playful. Let's play. You know? Have a good time. Awesome. High five. Boom. Who are we playing with first? You know? Just get it back to banter. I've said that before because that's important and necessary sometimes. You know? But if she really wanted to go into rapport, and it was the right time, I would just, if she said, no, really, where do you work? I would just tell her.
Yeah.
And I would go into rapport based on that. But let's say that instead of it being that exaggerated, it was more like, so where do you work? Or what do you do, right?
And what do you do?
Yeah, that's a little different, right? Not where do you work. That's a more specific question.
Yeah.
What do you do, right? How do you misinterpret a question like that, you know? Usually what I do is go, what do you mean? Like that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I have a feeling that she's asking me something that's not what she's saying, obviously, which is where do I work, right? My immediate go-to would not be, oh, I work blah, 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 because to me that's not something people do with me, you know?
Yeah.
So instead I go, what do you mean? Like, I'm having a hard time answering that question because there's so many things that I could say, right? She says, what do you do for work? And then I go, for work, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm relieved.
Yeah.
Like the thing that I thought you were asking me about is really crazy. But
this,
work, no
this
problem. This
part of the character is like the banter master, you know? Like
yeah,
this is like, I'm this curious, almost like little kid who's just like playing, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, you've mentioned it a lot of times, and it just took me a while to really see what that meant, you know?
Yeah, it does. It's not going to happen overnight.
It's like an infinite pool of banter and thereby attraction.
Yes.
You know?
And that was really, it was about learning how to use my whole body, my facial expressions. So when you're saying you mimicked me in a couple of ways, this is actually a pretty smart thing to do in the beginning with my character, because everything that I built about Josh Pellicer has been designed. Everything's been designed. The way I move my face is not designed.
And you've been testing things the whole time. I mean, you've had parts of the character that didn't work out so well, then you just got rid of them, and they're not part of you anymore.
No, they're not. They're not even close to part of me. This is my preference for who I am. When I stop acting this way, it isn't that I go back to the old way. The old way was fake.
Right.
It's all fake.
It's all fake.
You know? It was just as fake as this, which is just as real as that. So I think a lot of people have a hard time going, you're not who you really are.
Right.
You know? You're not who you really... You have to become something that you're not. And then the answer is obviously you already are.
You knew what 18-year-old Joshua Pellicer's configuration was going to get you out of life, probably.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't do that. I didn't design 18-year-old Josh Pellicer. My parents did.
You know, if you're watching this, like, you didn't design your character either.
No. You may have designed a couple things, which is what happens eventually. You realize that it's all fake, but I don't need to tell you that then. You know you can change anything.
Right.
You know? But if you don't know that, then you haven't changed it yet, which means you think that's you. But it's not really you. You know, you aren't the character that was built already, that's already there. You can change and be whatever you want to be, and that's just how it is, you know? I realized that. I grew up in a fucking trailer park.
Right.
You know? And that's why. That's why I was like, it can't be that I'm just born into a trailer park and then I die in a trailer park. That's fucking ridiculous. And if it is like that, I'm going to find out that it is, and I'm going to relax the whole time I'm here in a hammock. You know what I mean? But I'm going to find out first, you know? Otherwise, I'll be struggling for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, so I just tried to find the truth, and the truth was that wasn't the case, so I left. You know, I grew up in a trailer park, just in case you didn't get that. But so are we getting back to something though? Like we got off on this topic though for a specific purpose, and I just realized that we went on to like 3 more topics. Yeah.
So we were talking about
mannerisms, right? Like mimicking. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's the point that I really want to make is that. It's hard to go wrong mimicking my personality if you are my size, if you are my general shape, whatever. You may change things for yourself. If you're really big, really huge, like super strong, or really overweight or something, you may do things differently because
you
moving in the same way.
Hurt people if you're flinging your arms around.
Exactly, yeah. So there's certain things that you might not do, but most of the things that I built were pretty generic, actually, into my character. They just are... They're what the world wants to see in a character so that they listen to them, you know?
I'd say... Like, if you're typically playful. If there's any part of you that really enjoys being playful, then that's like spot on. Yeah. And also extroverted would help.
Yeah, but I wasn't really... It's funny, I wasn't like this, though. I'm not saying I was introverted before, but I definitely was not socially adept in any way whatsoever. Right. I was really retarded socially.
Not literally retarded.
Not literally, just socially.
Socially.
But I guess that at the end of the day, mimicking is a great thing to start with. It's not what ends, right? You can't mimic everything. There's certain things you cannot mimic. You have to do the work yourself. You have to go on the journey yourself. But if you want to prove to yourself that it's possible, start by mimicking, and then tear that to pieces. That's what I did. That's how I get so good at NLP, which is I didn't even study much. I read like maybe a book or two.
Who did you mimic for NLP?
Darren Brown.
Darren Brown.
Yeah, Darren Brown is a Deren, I think. Brown. He's you can find him on YouTube. He's a kind of a I don't even know mentalist kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he goes out into the actual world and does stuff with people who are unknowing. Apparently.
I would say I would recommend coming from a place where I was pretty afraid of the words hypnosis and NLP to just drop that right now.
Yeah.
And just explore them. Just see what they're like. Like Josh said.
Yeah. If you don't like it, don't.
You don't have to start reading hypnosis or like putting people in trances.
Here's the thing. The reason why people don't like it is because the people they'd have to become to do it.
Right.
Don't become those people.
Yeah.
Just get the skill set, but don't become them.
Take what you want from them and don't become a hypnotist.
Don't become anything.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the key.
Yeah.
Hypnotist is just one of them, but you've got lots of those things. You don't have to become something in order to master it. Being a master of social interaction does not mean that I consider myself in any way associated as a master of social interaction. Mm-hmm. Don't. It just doesn't cross my mind,
It's just tools that you've built along the way.
Exactly. And this is what works at the end. It's not very complicated, So, yeah. That's that.
So what makes... That's a really good segue into the next question. What makes you different? And also, who trained or influenced you? Obviously, you watched Darren Brown.
Yeah, that was cool. But so influenced me in...
So let's start with what makes you different.
Okay.
What makes you special, Josh?
Yeah. I'm like, my immediate reaction is, I'm not.
Mm-hmm. But you've seen different results.
Yeah. There's a way I'm thinking that seems to be, for some reason, rare. I don't know why. Because
something
it seems obvious.
Feels different about when people enter the Tao Badass community. We hear it, again and again and again that this is different. There's something different that they see right away, even from like the first video they might watch to get them here. That there's a different chord that's being struck than dating advice or relationship advice or even pickup or whatever. There's something different going on here.
Yeah, I know what it is. This is weird to talk about, but I'll tell you what it is. It's truth. It might be weird sounding that I'm not saying everyone else is just lying through their teeth at you. I'm just saying that they don't see the truth. When someone can see the truth, then you can tell, You can see the way I move, the way I talk. Everything's in alignment. There's nothing that's off. It's not that way because I carefully constructed this phantom.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, you can't do it. I'm just telling you. I started to go down that path because I was curious if it was possible, but it's just too many moving parts. Everyone that I know that does that tries to fake all this personality stuff, eventually either has to become the thing they're faking because they can't.
Which is hard at some point because they've been faking it for so long.
So they have two different personalities now.
So it's like there's like a gap growing the whole time.
That's most people, really. Yeah. Either need to become what they're faking or they're going to get busted for faking it. And they will live in fear, forever. I know guys like this. They're just always afraid that they're going to get caught. Everyone's going to find out they're not that good with women, because they haven't done the things they're telling you to do. They're just hearing it from other people and then saying it to you like they've done it. That's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I've done it. Not just that, but I realized that I can change my character, so I don't need to fake anything. So I changed my character, and I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything because I don't think there's anything wrong with people. I don't think that it's wrong if you can't attract a woman. I don't think that's bad.
Right.
I think if you want to be better, then there is a process you can follow and do it. That's just the truth.
Generally, people are doing exactly what they want. If they want to be depressed, they're doing a great job at being depressed.
Totally, and that's okay. I don't judge that. That's fine.
Right.
Honestly, I mean, if I worked at a gas station for years, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, people came in probably like looking down their nose at me and thinking that I was like worthless or whatever, just some gas station dude.
But you were living a hell of a life.
I was like, that's what I wanted in the moment.
Yeah.
I really wanted that, so I did it. There's no wrong. There's no wrong or right. There's no bad or good. So if you want to do that, cool. If you want to be good with women, I'm just going to tell you how to do it. That's all. That's the reason why. That's what makes me different.
There's no judgment.
I'm not adding my own shit into this.
Yeah.
This is just how it is. I think it's silly, and I've always thought this as a teacher. I guess when I first started studying teaching, I thought the silliest thing was to add your own opinion into what people are assuming is fact and try to pass it off as fact because you've gained their trust. That to me is like, why? Why would you ever need to do that? You don't need to do that. All you have to do is say the truth. You don't need to duplicate your insecurities across everybody. I
guess maybe some people feel like they do.
Well, yes, of course they do. They feel that way.
Less alone.
Well, the reason why is because the more people that believe the lie they believe about themselves, the more they can believe it and stop having to think about it. They try to create a world where everyone believes the same lie that they do, that has the same insecurity as them. Because when it's socially acceptable to have that insecurity, they don't have to be ashamed of it anymore. That's what teachers do. It's bullshit, And I just don't do that. That's all. If I have an opinion, I'll call it out. That's what people are drawn to me. That's why people who join the community are different. They're not just people who want something different. They're people who can recognize, Yeah. People who are smart enough to see that there's a difference between someone who is, and to quote Morpheus, the difference between knowing the path and walking the path. Mm-hmm. People who join the Tao Badass are planning on at least walking the path, not just knowing the path.
Right.
And they need someone who's walked it already. It's not about how much snake oil I can sell you.
Right.
It's about whether or not you get a vibe or a feeling about me and about what I teach that tells you that I walked the path. And that's just how it is.
Okay.
That's what makes me different, I guess. I'm not really different. I'm the same as everybody else. The thing that I did that was different, though, that made me come to this place is I gave up. I gave up on trying to fight. I gave up on trying to make the world like I think it should be instead of accepting the world for what it really was. Yes, people are nuts. Yes, everybody's fucking crazy. Everyone's avoiding something serious. Mm-hmm. Everyone's afraid to die, no matter what the fuck they say. They're all scared to die. I mean, this is 99.9 repeating % of people. There might be like a handful of people in the world that aren't afraid of death.
Right.
But really, the part of you that is afraid of death is the part that's going to die anyway. So of course it's going to be afraid of death. Of course you're afraid of death. But the thing is that we're all avoiding this fears, and it's weird.
That's what society is built on.
Yeah, it's about distraction.
A web of fears.
Yeah, and fears brought you here.
Yeah,
that's okay, but that's fine, right? But you just need to know what the truth is. That's what's most important. It's weird to accept it. It's weird to look around and see everybody is like playing their game and like animating their drama and their fiction, and it doesn't even matter, because at the end of the day they're going to die. Mm-hmm. So it does not matter what whatever they're talking about. Importance is illusory.
Yeah. Any sort of advice you ever hear is coming from someone who is still going to meet the same.
Yeah, they're going to die. Yeah. So
they're like, oh, you should live your life this way. You should be healthy, or you should be rich, or you should be whatever. Yeah,
really, at the end of the day, it's being able to look at that world and go, okay, this is how it is. That's okay, right? Mm-hmm. Not like it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
It should be. It should make sense. It should be easy to attract women. All I should have to do is walk up to a girl.
I'm a nice guy.
Yeah. Right? I should just have to walk up to a girl and then just start a conversation, and it should work.
Right.
Whenever I stopped going it should work, and started going, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
So now what? That's what made me different. That was it. Just acceptance of reality, I guess. Which shouldn't make me different, I don't think. That should be pretty standard.
That should be.
Yeah. But I went there, so I know what it's like.
All right. Let's go. Let's zoom in a bit more and So let's go with what are the biggest mistakes and myths you see when guys are trying to get better with women?
Okay. Well, right off the bat, first thing that most guys do is they look for quick fix shit that they think is going to trick a girl into bed. This is the first thing everyone thinks. I don't give a fuck who you are or what you think about yourself. This was crossing your damn mind when you first started this. If you didn't start recently, or if you did start recently, this was on your mind. Because the thought that it's possible to improve yourself is not there. The part that's possible, is just you don't believe it.
Right.
You don't see it yet that it is possible. So you need something to make you believe.
Yeah.
To make you trust the process,
right,
and go for the whole thing, right?
Or even just see that there is a process.
Exactly, right? Okay, so the first thing guys do is need that.
Okay.
If you just didn't, what's the worst that could possibly happen? If you just went in full speed, worst that could happen is it doesn't work, and then you don't waste time trying to ease your way into the pool. Like one step at a time. You just jump in. If it's too cold, you get out. Doesn't take you 10 years. That's the first mistake I see guys make. They come into this thinking that they need something that's going to work temporarily to hold them over.
Really safe and incredibly easy, effective thing that's going to work, and they don't have to change anything about themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's safe.
I know one. It's fantastic. There's plenty of them, but I
have one in mind as well.
But the one I'm thinking of is triangulating, like getting a girl to kiss you. I mean, that's like you don't have to change anything about yourself. You just have to do something subtle. You look at her eyes, look at her mouth, look at her eyes, and then she does it back to you. When she does, it's like an external sign. Then you say these words. You say, "It's okay. You can kiss me. I want to kiss you too." And then you kiss. It's fucking like clockwork. It works like every time. So guys latch on to that stuff. They need those things.
The funny thing is, typically what I see is after somebody learns, sees the Dow badass, finds out there is a system that they've never seen this before. They go out and try it on someone that has, a girl that probably, if they're talking to on a regular basis, this girl probably has been obsessed with him for ages and just waiting for him to make a move. You know? So then he goes and he's like, I'm gonna try the triangular gaze.
Yeah,
and it works not even just a little bit. It works like crazy.
Like amazing. Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Like floodgates opened up, right? And then he's a believer.
Yeah.
And then he starts to study other things. But here's the thing. Whenever you start out that way, you're looking for the next technique like that. But that's not what you need to learn. You need to learn the structure behind it. The biggest mistake, I think, and this kind of speaks to that, is that people come in trying to be good with women.
Right.
You have to come in to master this whole fucking attraction thing. To be a master at it.
Right.
You're not going to be a fucking master. It's just too many moving parts. You're not going to. But if you shoot for being a master at this, then you'll start with fundamentals. And you'll understand the stuff underlying everything instead of jumping to the really quick fixes, A lot of guys just jump to the quick fix. That's
so
the biggest problem.
If you shoot for finding out how to have a girl kiss you, then that's exactly what you're going to get.
You get whatever it is you want, right? So want the best shit in the universe to master it. That's what you want, right? Set your sights really high. You'll still be better than anyone you know, even if you fail at that.
Right.
You'll be better than everybody.
But the thing is, you won't really care. I mean, you say that, but I've found that whenever I set a really high goal and I land somewhere short of it, I don't really care that I landed. I don't really care that I'm better than I was before, because I don't notice, because I'm still shooting for the big thing, you know? So I'm just noticing where I am in relation to the big goal.
That's good to motivate yourself, but if you ever feel down on yourself, you have to actually compare the other way.
Step back and...
look at it and go, okay, this isn't that bad.
Look where I was before.
Yeah, because you can get wrapped up in that thought, that thought of I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough.
Right.
But really, that's just a tool to keep you going. You only need to say I'm not good enough whenever you feel like you are good enough. You know what I mean? That's the only time you should say that. Every other time, it's not. It doesn't even matter. If you have to convince yourself that you are good enough, as soon as you feel good enough, just go, great, I'm good enough. But I'm not quite good enough. Then it won't hurt. Okay. It's not the same, you know what I mean? It just is, it's a carrot on the end of a stick, but it's imaginary.
Yeah.
But it still motivates you, So
that's one myth, is looking for these quick fix type things.
Yeah.
I mean, they exist.
No, of course they
work.
do. Yeah, and you should know them, but they should come to you in order. Save them. You don't just go into I don't know anybody that goes into a buffet and just loads up on desserts the whole time. You know what I mean? They go in and they have like a process, You give yourself a little dessert if you want like a cookie in between after the first like course.
Right.
And you want a little snack just in case you're going to be too full after the next one to eat and enjoy that cookie. That's fine,
Yeah.
Learn something fundamental and then take a quick fix and go have a great time with it, Something related. Everything that you're looking at, all the fundamentals, understand what happens underneath everything, behind the scenes and everything. Why it is that girls, that when you turn your back to girls, that they want to be around you all of a sudden more, Whenever you're talking to them, they want to flirt with you more. Figure out why all this is happening. Because if you understand why, then you can make up your version of it. And it's you. You are in control. It's about you controlling your experience, really. Well, sort of. It's about you controlling your experience, or at least not feeling like someone else is in control of your experience. It's about that. So you want to be the one that learns this stuff, that knows how everything works. You have to be able to see the structure behind it, see the matrix. That's what it's called. So there's that. The next one, which is just as bad, because as soon as you do this, you pretty much are worthless as far as progress goes. Is proclaiming that you're already awesome. Saying anything good about yourself, awesome with women. Like, oh no, man, I'm pretty good already. I got this thing. Or even talking about your successes as if getting other people's approval is going to help you anyway. Right. Does not help you. Not around this topic. You don't want people to go, hey, you know what? You are pretty awesome, because then you'll stop. And you will. That's how it works. You want people to go, that's awesome. Teach me how to do that. Great. Here's what I learned too. Do you know how to do this? No? Let me show you. Like, it's like that. Like, you're always constantly going back and forth, taking the next step. This was years of my life. Every day. Every day I'd wake up and be like, okay, we were talking about this last night, and blah, blah, blah. And then people who were with me would be like, yeah, this is this. Let's watch a video. I saw a video about this. Let's get it up. Pull it up. Watch it. Studied like 8 hours a day. This is what we were doing. Practicing. That's what you got to do. Not 8 hours a day, because you have, luckily, a guide.
Yeah.
But you got to be a monomaniac. Monomaniacal, which means one thing exists in the world and that's all. And that is this area of your life. Like Fight Club. Fight Club became the reason why you cut your fingernails or cut your hair. That's kind of how it is. This becomes the reason why. You want to master this, so you just do it. It's very much like Fight Club in a lot of ways. But ultimately, though, we've got... you've got plenty of progress to make and plenty of opportunity to do that until you start saying you're there. As soon as you start saying, I'm here, I've made it. There's a book called The Dangers of Premature Enlightenment. That's kind of like about the same topic, and I can't remember who wrote that, but that's basically the idea that the biggest problem, the biggest wall in between people who are seeking enlightenment and enlightenment is that they're seeking to reach a state of being that they can say, I've done it in. And as long as you have that goal, I'm just trying to say that I'm enlightened, then you never can be, because you're all egoic.
Would you say it's myth that a lot of people want to believe that there's a point at which they're done?
No.
No?
I wouldn't say it's a myth. I would say that it might not seem like that, though. It might seem like it goes on forever, but if you think about it, you compare your goals. Your goals change. That means if your goals change, that means you've completed them.
Okay.
So you're done with whatever. Done just means you're slicing something off. Really, it's not like that, because there's always a next step.
Yeah.
There's always a further. You can always go further. Yeah. Not just better with women, but once you master that, then you have to say, now what?
Right.
Business. Okay, master that. Now what? And you keep doing that eventually.
So you don't really have to think about whatever you're going to be thinking about after you complete this thing. You really only have to focus on the next thing.
There's nothing else except the next thing.
Yeah.
That's a good Iron Man line from Iron Man. He says, there is nothing. There's only the next mission, and that's all. There's nothing to sign. There's no, art gallery to go to. There's nothing to buy. No deals to make. There's only the next mission, and that's all. And that's kind of how this is.
There's no finish line where somebody's going to congratulate you.
No, the thing is, when you cross the finish line, nobody will be there to congratulate you. I promise.
And they will not believe anything from, like, nobody believes that you are bad with women.
It's just
you can say it 1,000 times. You could show us pictures. It wouldn't matter.
No, I don't think so.
It would be like,
if I had video, maybe, but I don't have any video of me being bad with women. I would have destroyed that, years ago. But yeah, I mean, it's once you cross that line. The thing is that everyone expects that there's going to be a group of people there waiting to congratulate them, but you are winning the race. It's lonely in first place, man. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is. You get there, and if you're that good, no one's going to be able to understand you.
And they can't relate to you anymore. No. Because most of the people in the world are stuck in that distraction, delusion.
Yeah.
About everything, but I mean specifically about attraction.
Yeah. I mean that's great for you though, because now you are the man with one eye in the land of the blind.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk about going into a place and I'm like a puppet master, and everyone's like my chess piece really, and I'm playing chess with them. Just effortlessly playing chess with everybody. This is because I know this. I know that it's all not real. That's what I know. I see it in front of me. So when someone else reacts, I don't go, oh, shit. I go, okay, that character's reacting. Because that's part of their game. Okay, I saw that coming because I saw their game. Mm-hmm. I see everyone's frames. It's like seeing the Matrix. So if you want to get that good, that's what you got to do. You got to be comfortable with nobody understanding you. Nobody can understand you really anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, how can they? How can anyone ever write someone else's biography? You know what I mean?
Right.
How the fuck do they know this person? Nobody knows this person. You can't even communicate it. Because your experience is like, how do you describe what you experienced if you watch a sunset? You go, oh, the sun went down, there are all these amazing colors, but that's not what you saw.
Yeah.
There's not even a shadow on the wall of what you saw. You saw something that seemed impossible and massive, and there's so many other words, but none of them, no matter how you arrange them, will explain that experience. And that experience is happening right now. You can't share yourself with other people. It doesn't actually happen. Mm-hmm. So when you get to the end and nobody's there to share it with, nothing has changed. It's not a bad thing. It's just that you're seeing things more clearly now, and that's how they are. It's okay. It's totally fine. I know for me, I ran away from that for 10 years. Because I was like, fuck this. I'm ahead of everybody, but I'm just going to turn around and start talking to them. See why they're not running. They're all sitting around talking about racing, and no one's actually racing. I'm just going like this, and I turn around and nobody's there, and I'm by myself, and I see the finish line, and it's all desolate, and there's a tumbleweed. It's just like, what am I doing? Am I leaving everybody back there? Which one's more important to me? Truth and knowing the truth, or connection, right? Mm-hmm. Because somehow they're not related, And then eventually I found out why. Because you can't actually connect. We're trying to transfer something that is perfect in my mind and my experience of my life to another person. And they already have an experience from a different angle. You can't replace their experience with yours. You can't do it. You can only try to help them imagine something that is close to what you were experiencing.
And they'll be seeing it through their own
and it won't be yours.
Anyways.
Yes, exactly. It will never be through your lenses.
It's like a hilarious game of telephone.
It is. And every time it comes back to you, it's never what you said or what you were thinking. It's always something else. Mm-hmm. So the game is going, okay, if you're going to communicate, it's telephone. That's what you're doing. You're playing, or operator or whatever, right? Yeah. Telephone, where you tell somebody a secret and then they try to repeat it, and then when it comes back around, it's like,
completely distorted.
Yeah, you first you said, my name is Josh, and it comes around and it's like, I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Like, what? And it's not. I'm not even a vegetarian. It's not even true. But so when you accept that anytime you try to say something out, it's going to be misinterpreted and twisted and whatever, and then come back to you, and everyone's going to believe whatever comes back to you is what is true, not what you said. Then it becomes a really funny interaction. Mm. It's like the whole world is just blurting out shit that scares
hilariously.
them. Yeah, and it's fun, just like telephone is.
Yeah.
But you don't want to sit there and go, no, guys, wrong. That's not what I said. We got to get better at this. No, it's your fault for trying to communicate a bunch of shit to everybody. Just, you may not be able to communicate your progress to people. At some point, once you get good enough, you will be alone. But it's not, it can be scary at first, but it's the truth. And it's okay, I don't need to communicate it. I can communicate some stuff up on the way, but eventually I won't be able to communicate the stuff that you have to go through. I can be there with you, maybe. I can remember my version and maybe tell you stuff about it. That's all I can do. Mm-hmm. You have your own journey and your own path. You always walk your own path, So, anyway, I forgot why I said that part, but the rest of it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about myths. I don't remember either. That's okay.
That's okay. This is how I think. Just
so, something similar. What are the biggest mistakes that, say, beginners make when they start practicing?
They are looking to validate that they're attractive instead of looking to get better at attraction.
Okay.
That's the biggest mistake I see. Meaning that I'll tell you the difference in their actions. If you're looking to validate that you're attractive by attracting women, then you need to attract women. Mm-hmm. So you're already needy because you're trying to validate something, right? If instead you're trying to get better, you look for mistakes. You want mistakes to happen because that's how you get better. You see what you suck at, then you improve on it, and you get better at it, right? So instead, one way, the guy who's seeking some kind of positive validation, when he gets a negative reaction, he stops and freaks out and drinks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Gets reactive emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going out to get better at this, if you have a negative reaction, it's more valuable than a positive one.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, okay, great. That didn't work. That's great. So I won't always be like this, right? That's the difference. The difference in perspective is that the person who goes out to learn knows that they're going to make progress over time. And the person who goes out to validate thinks they've already made all their progress and they just need to prove it,
Yeah.
That latter statement, that you've already made all your progress and you just need to go out and prove it, is a lie.
No matter how many courses you've been to, how many books you've read, how many examples you've seen, how many YouTube videos you've watched, I'd say that is a pretty destructive mistake that beginners make. Yeah, and I know because I made the same mistakes.
Everybody makes it.
Yeah,
it's classic.
And I know that even hearing you say you have to be looking forward to getting rejected. You have to be looking forward to making mistakes. That was so far out of my reality.
Yeah.
That I just didn't. It's like you were speaking another language.
But just making it up.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this could help anyone else, but for me, the moment that changed that for me was realizing that anybody who's ever been good at anything ever found out that there was a process to it and then practiced that process until they were good.
Yeah.
There is no person who's just amazing at free throws. It's somebody who figured out a system to free throws mm-hmm. and then practiced that system and got all the pieces and then eventually got the nuances and then mm-hmm. had different situations they figured out, whatever.
Well, there are savants, you'll have people like Amadeus Mozart, But
example. Even the savants have a system.
Yeah, there's something there. The thing is that they're not clouded from seeing the system in the first place like everybody else is. Mm-hmm. That's why they're savants. They can see very, very, very clearly around whatever topic it is.
And they typically do that thing a lot. I'm not saying you have to, put in 10,000 hours to be good at anything, whatever. I'm saying it's more realistic just to recognize that for whatever it is, juggling or,
banter.
Being rich, banter, mm-hmm. for anything, there's a system to it, and you can figure out that system, or you can see that system and at least start working on one of the pieces.
If you want to. It's all there. If you feel like a victim and that there's nothing that's going to help you, then that's just you. Hoping that that's the case, but it's just not the case.
So when you accept that and you think of everything you do as you're getting better at something, even when you're filling out a spreadsheet or something, you're getting better at filling out spreadsheets. You're
there's a point. there's some progress. Maybe it's not going in the direction you really care about.
Right.
But it's some progress being made.
Yeah.
You know?
Our brains are like really good at figuring out shit.
Yes.
You know?
Our brains are good at figuring out shit.
But you have to put the right path in front of your brain to follow to get the result that you want, right?
Yeah, you focus your energy, essentially. Like, you become a monomaniac, like I was saying. Yeah. You become a person whose entire life, outside of the bare minimum, outside of that, everything else about their life is just this one topic. And one part of that one topic. So, for me, everything in my life was about touch while I was studying touch. Mm-hmm. Not just about attracting women, but touch. It's one specific thing. Every time I'd go out, I was like looking at everybody else, watching, learning stuff everywhere about that one topic. I became obsessed with that one topic. And then once I knew about it and I practiced it and I figured out how to do it and I was satisfied, then I became unobsessed with it.
And you had the system in your brain then.
Yeah, I naturally, exactly. I became naturally uninterested because I had already mastered it. Because the point is not to validate that I'm attractive. The point is that I'm not attractive. That's the fucking point.
But you realize that part of the whole equation of attraction is touch.
So I had to learn.
Why don't I work on that?
Yeah. I'm not getting any more attractive, you know? Unless I am improving myself in some way, you know? Just sitting there doesn't make me more attractive. So I just had a goal of being more attractive than I was yesterday. Every day.
That's a phenomenal goal.
And so every day I just did that, and I got better with social interaction. I got better at mastery. I didn't have to prove myself that I was attractive as a person. That's not the point. The point is to get better at it every day. To get more attractive every day. You know?
By implementing something that you were guessing was pretty important to that.
Yeah.
Right?
I would guess, yeah.
If you're watching this, you already know, like, you can figure out the things that you should probably work on that would make you more attractive. I mean, you're fortunate enough to have a literal guide in front of you on the things that you should work on if you want to be more attractive. But you can figure it out. Like,
it would just take probably a while. It took me, 8 years to really get the nuance of it all.
Right.
8 years before when I very first started to whenever I wrote the book, The Tao of Badass. But even after I wrote the book, I mean, it's been a few years maybe since I've written it. Mm-hmm. A little more than a few years. And I didn't stop there.
Yeah.
You know, there was still more for me. Not so much around social interaction anymore. You know, because I pretty much understood that. But, you know, around other things. So I just continued on. And then that adds to my character and my personality. You know, being able to offer content like this to a group of people is not like something that came natural to me where I can just like go out and all of a sudden handle this, like, you know, we have over 70,000 members, you know, and it's growing every day and everyone's very active. And, you know, I'm not like the kind of guy who was naturally like that.
Right.
You know, so I had to learn how to be this guy too. It's just really, it just shifts over time, you know. But the biggest thing, though, just to kind of get back on it, and I can't hammer it home enough, is you don't want to go out to be attractive. You want to go out to get better, you know. Get better at all this stuff. Get better with women. In particular, it's a very important distinction. It's what sets anybody good. Rob Judge, myself, and Richard Laurena, all three of us believe that same thing, or operate in that same way, really.
You're going out to get better.
Yeah, you don't go out.
But you're doing everything to get better, really.
Yeah.
It's not just going out, but...
Then eventually you got to ask yourself, better at what, for what purpose, you know?
Right.
And then it becomes really fun, you know? Or really complicated, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But ultimately, though, that's how you get good. That's exactly how you get good. Don't go out trying to teach this stuff unless you want to do that someday. That's not the point, you know? Mm-hmm. Then you'll be a good teacher. You won't be a master of this. You have to go out with the intention of being better than pretty much anybody else, you know? Just as best as you can possibly be. Learn as much as you can, you know? Even if you are at your 100% mastery level of social interaction and you're not attractive physically, and there's a guy next to you who's at 80% and he's really attractive physically, you'll still beat him. I promise. It's the social interaction skills are most of attraction. Most of it. It's not physical attraction isn't that big of a deal to women, you know? So if you get it 100%, with all your cylinders firing at once, you'll be the only guy you know like this, and even the guys who are really amazing with women won't be as good as you. You will live in a world of no competition, I don't know how else to describe this. It's like no one can possibly compete with you, no matter who they are, because you are getting better every day, and they're not. And so at the end of the day, you are an appreciating asset, and they're not. This is what it's really about. I mean, that's what the skill set's about, I guess. It's fun. Yay.
Okay. So, what would you say are some of the biggest wastes of time, I guess?
The biggest waste of time is continuing to learn more about a topic that you know you have to practice. That's the biggest waste of time. That would be that could be anything. But, learning more banter lines whenever you already have one that you want to try out.
Yeah. You haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, if you haven't tried it, don't fucking learn any more banter lines. If you want to learn a little bit about how to operate, how to use it, study that a little bit, but then don't study any more until you use it. Negative body language, delivery, all that shit around banter or anything else really in this process. If you haven't practiced it or tried it out and gotten to where you understand it, then don't continue. Stop and just practice.
Don't learn advanced rapport techniques or whatever.
It's not just advanced stuff. I mean, that's like, I understand why people would. I did Kung Fu, and the first thing you do when you go to Kung Fu is you go, what's the advanced shit? I don't care about the whole punching stuff and whatever. I want to be able to do a flying drop kick and scare somebody, right? Because I just want to have fun. Right? I understand that desire, but it's not the same. I mean, it is the same feeling. It's the same desire to want to do that. But the reason why they don't let you do that is because you hurt yourself and then you don't continue. You never actually become a master because you're just practicing the advanced stuff. I understand the desire to practice the advanced stuff. That's fine. Start there if you want to. I don't give a shit, really. But just do one thing and then practice it. Learn one thing, then practice it. And it can be the advanced shit. I don't care. Eventually, you're coming back to the whatever you're missing. You'll have a giant piece missing where you won't be able to. You'll have to always banter. You can't build rapport because you never practice rapport. Okay, now you got to shift gears and study rapport. So that'll have to happen over time. But I don't care where you start. Just practice. That's the most important. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Even at an advanced level, what would you say, which mistakes are most common?
At an advanced level?
Yeah. Like even when guys start getting really good, or even maybe other guys who are kind of like masters.
Yeah.
What is a pretty common mistake that you still see?
Well, their inner game is usually all screwed up. Getting good really fast means that you've traded something usually. And usually that means that you made a fake character that you could make good with women that isn't really you, and you step into that character, Like if you mimic it for too long and you don't stop and be like, I realize you don't have to mimic it anymore, just mimic it in the beginning. If you continue to mimic, it's because you're afraid that you don't have what it takes actually to do this. The mimicking is the thing that's making it work when you're not being who you are. So a lot of guys create fake personas around this, and that's an advanced thing. They'll get where their whole life is about hiding this, anything else other than what they're good at, and that kind of owns them. That's a big...
That was one of the big sort of advances in the pickup artist thing, right? Is creating an avatar.
Yeah.
I mean, psychologically, it yields great results. I mean, you can advance pretty quickly.
It's a very good short-term plan, Yeah. But that short-term can literally be 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Once you see it working, you don't have to do it anymore. You stop, you deconstruct it. It's not the end. That's the misconception. That's a mistake to think that once you are getting success, you're done. That's not the point. Once you can't fail, then you're done. It's very different. It's a different level of mastery. It's not about always winning or always having it work out. It's about making it so that you can't fail. Your natural default movements and default reactions to people without even having to think about it are all attractive. You got to redesign yourself. You got to reconstruct your habits. Guys think that once they start to go across the first step and they prove to themselves that it's possible, that they've succeeded, but that's not success. So that's when the real journey starts. Really, it's when it starts there. It doesn't end there. So if you start there, then I'd say advanced is getting good from that place, right? Realizing that all that stuff is true, and then continuing and trying to improve yourself and stuff. The biggest mistake I see advanced guys make is they idolize idolize a mentor. They get a mentor in, they start studying this person for a short period of time, and then the mentor, or either mentor does this on purpose, or they just do it naturally, the student will do this naturally. They start idolizing the mentor as if this person has all the answers, but really, it doesn't matter if they have all the answers or not. The answers are what you're looking for, not the person. You know the old Bruce Lee line, a finger points to the moon. It's a Zen story. A finger points to the moon. Don't look at the finger, or you miss all of its heavenly glory. You know? What the fuck does that mean, right? Well, it means, hey, look, don't stare at the message. Stare at the point of the message. You know? Yeah. You don't go, oh, finger pointing. Wow, finger pointing. Where does that point? Let me guess. Yeah. That's what everyone does. You go, oh, Josh is saying this thing. What does he mean by that? Oh, interesting. And they ponder me. They wonder what my life was like. They ponder what I think, how I interact. Instead of going, well, what is he talking about? Okay, touch. Bye, Josh. And then going over to touch. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what it's for. It's not for you to sit here and go, idolize Josh. Josh isn't even fucking real.
Right.
He's just a character. You know? I mean, it's my name, but it's just a character's name.
Yeah.
It isn't really a real person outside of you. You are the only important person. Yeah. You know? Nothing else matters. So don't put anybody above you. That's a really advanced mistake, but they just put people above them and then they follow them. Don't fucking follow anybody. That's bullshit. Why? Why would you have a sense of direction on your own if you're meant to follow? You know? Why would you have your own desires if you were meant to follow someone else? Everything about you is specific. You have your own impulses. They're not everyone else's impulses. You know? You got to follow your desires. You got to be you, right? So when you take something from somebody else, you can adopt it and put it on, but you're going to have your desires. Don't live on their desires, you know? I didn't go out, you know, being a space cowboy, which was what, you know, what Spike Spiegel was, you know, from Cowboy Bebop. That's what it was.
That's your retirement plan.
Yeah, exactly. Go hunt, bounty hunting.
Space farm. Space cowboy.
But yeah, it was like, it's what's called killing the Buddha. You know, there's another Zen story that says, if you meet the Buddha on the path, kill him. And it was like, people are like, what the fuck does that mean? You know? But really what that means is, if you meet somebody on the path and they are above you in your mind, you have to make it so they're not anymore. Don't bring them down. Figure out what they have and demystify it. Because everybody's equal. So I can't be above you in any way. You know, I've got to be just a normal dude. Just like everybody else. You know? So that's a big mistake I see people make, is they idolize somebody and then they never move beyond them. When the greatest people you've ever seen in your life, that you've ever met, the greatest people in history, you can surpass in this lifetime. In wisdom and in talent and whatever, you know? You have to realize that so that you try. Otherwise, you'll try to be in the shadow of someone else, which is what you'll end up becoming, you know? So that's an advanced mistake, I think. Common.
Okay. I'll just keep going.
Sure.
So, if you had to boil down a few of them, what are your key principles for better, more consistent results with women? So I guess these would be things that someone might want to like check in on a daily basis and be like, all right, am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this?
Okay. First, negative body language. There's no doubt about it. Negative body language, if you haven't read that part of the book, go back and read it. But it is key. I don't want to go into too much detail about how to do it, because that's all outlined. But that's one. The second one is
integrating negative body language into your
natural daily behavior.
Time. Not just when you go out to meet women.
Yeah.
Not just when you're talking to the girl that you're really excited to be talking to, but like all the time, talking with friends, in line at
just your natural behavior. It'll be part of your natural behavior. It's another way to communicate something. And that thing that you're communicating is, I don't need this, but I like it. If you turn back around again after you turn away and you turn back, it's like, I don't need this, but I like it. That's what you're saying, right? That's one message that they're getting. Another one is banter, which is another I don't need this, but I like it thing, right? The point is not to have her positively react to your banter. The point is to say banter and enjoy the process. No matter what happens. You are having your own fun. You don't need this, but you like it. 2 statements, right? These are 2 statements that you're saying now with the way you're acting. Finally, walking. Which is, that's major. It's just such a major shift. Outside of that, touch, eye contact was very important too. Being able to read body language and having dominant body language in general, but that's walking really. It's about dominant body language. Mm-hmm. It's about taking longer strides and noticing that people move out of your way. That you have a clear path. That the world around you is affected by your interaction with it, and that if you design your interaction, you can control the world around you. That's really what it's about. But banter is one of those ways. Banter's big. Negative body language is big. And then the last one I'd say is probably the walk would be another just crucial. If I only had to give you 3 things, I gave you those 3 things, you'd be 10 times better than you are now, like just in general,
And kind of going back to Bruce Lee, those would all be the things that would be like practice hard, fight easy, right? Like you practice those 3.
Train hard, fight easy.
Train hard, fight easy. Train in those 3 things just all the time. Mm-hmm. Work on your banter, get better banter. Work on your negative body language, get better at that.
Combine them together.
And then by the time that you go out to have some drinks with friends and you turn around and start talking to a girl, like all that stuff's going to be integrated into your behavior already. You're not going to have to be thinking about, okay, what banner line should I use? How should I stand? Whatever. It's just going to be happening. You can focus on the next step. You can start thinking like about touch or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't try to juggle like 8 balls in the air at once. Don't try to study 5 things at once and practice them all. Like, do one, get good at it, combine it with another one, get good at that. Build it like building blocks,
I guess that's what's great about these things is you can't necessarily practice like sexual escalation constantly. Like if you're at work or whatever, like hanging out with your family.
It's a context-specific environment that you have to be able to practice it in.
But you can practice these things
because they're in an attraction state. So the things that come later, you can only practice them when you get in those states, which is why it's hard to find somebody who's normal, like a normal guy, who's a master of seduction. Because most guys who are masters of seduction only do seduction and they never get good at the first 2 parts, so they have to compensate for that shit. So now they try to blast straight through to seduction, which is not effective. Mm-hmm. So they have this really wonky way of being as a person that doesn't really interact well with the world around them.
So they have their one zone they're really good at, but as a person, they're not
calibrated.
Yeah.
So they're a one-trick pony. If you're going to practice on something, start and get good at the first thing, and then move on to the second thing. Once you're good at the first thing, which would be rapport, then get good at rapport. Then once you're good at that, then move on to seduction, because then you have more opportunity to get into seduction because you know the stages before it. Right. Attraction, rapport, seduction. So you'll
have more opportunities.
Yeah.
So then you can start.
You don't have enough time. That's the thing. Yeah. You're gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
You don't have enough time to practice it backwards or do it in the wrong order. You have to practice it in this order. It already takes a little while. It might take a year before you're fucking total badass. But that's a year from being an absolute shit with women to being a complete badass with women. That's not a long time. If you focus full time on this, not even full time, but if you focus on it in any kind of way, just make this your hobby. The thing that you do and focus on when you cut your fingernails. Cut your fingernails because you don't want to weird women out when you touch them.
Yeah.
When you cut your hair because you're trying to get their attention or their curiosity.
That's a really good way to think about any sort of behavior that you're trying to struggle with. Like I should probably get that out of my behavior. Just think of it as, will this make me more attractive to women or less attractive?
Yeah.
And then it'll be an easy decision for your brain.
Yeah, once you figure out the answer to that. In the beginning, though, you won't know the answer. You'll have to find out. Mm.
Something, I guess, for me, I thought about it with fidgeting.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, well, okay, I like fidgeting, I fidget.
I was one of those guys, too.
But, and then I remember, trying some, therapeutic type, snapping myself with a rubber band or whatever to get rid of the behavior. And that would work for a little while. But ultimately, the thing that worked on a more regular basis for me was, oh, that's easy. Fidgeting is making me less attractive to women. I don't want to be less attractive to women.
Yeah. So I'll stop. Yeah.
It's an easy decision for your brain.
Yeah, but you have to make a decision that's important for you.
Right.
You have to admit that that's important for you in the first place.
If it is.
It obviously is.
If it is important to you, then it'll happen.
It is because this is who we're talking to.
Right.
I mean, it 100% is for you, but it might not be for everybody else. But screw those people. Who cares about them? They don't exist.
Yeah.
It's you and then
it's
and then
your
nobody.
Story.
Yeah. Who cares about everybody else? So, yeah.
What are your favorite instructional books or resources on these subjects? Let's go with 5.
Well, what subjects?
Ooh.
Because they're all... I mean, I had to go all over the place for this
Let's assume that someone in an accelerated seduction program...
Oh, I got one. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite resources. It's not a book. ChangingMinds.org. ChangingMinds.org is a free website that has all this psychology. Just things that you can learn, techniques and stuff and strategies, psychological strategies. But it's all for free. It's like, I mean, if you know everything on that site, you would have you'd be a master of sales, attraction, and psychology. You could get like a psych degree on that website. It's not like it's boring or anything. It's just read whatever you want to and check it out however you want to. But I would explore like a lot in there. You know,
it's set up in like little kind of like cliff note type things, and it's also applied to specific situations, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like, so this is how to deal with someone if you think they might be lying to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some practical things, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's not a very well put together website. Last I checked.
The guy that runs it seems to be. It's kind of just his hobby.
Yeah, which is what you want.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it's
He doesn't realize how valuable the information he gives out is.
Maybe. I mean, I used to check that when I was writing my curriculum. I mean, I would like check my curriculum against this to make sure it was all in alignment. Like, it was really, that's advanced shit, you know? Most guys would look at it, though, and just be like, meh, it's just a bunch of psychology stuff. But it's because you're not applying it or using it. Go use it. It's pretty fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, that kind of applies to any sort of psychology you hear. Forget about who's telling you or whatever. Just take it and use it for what you want to use it for, which is
if it works.
meeting women.
Practice.
You know? Yeah, try it.
Try it out. Test it. That's what it's all about, you know? So that's one. That was a major one. Beyond that, everything else is learned in the field, really. I mean, it's all learned in the field. It's all practiced in the field, so you have to go out and do it. I suggest getting a job somewhere weird. Like, you want to get used to hanging out with really hot women, then go get a job somewhere where a bunch of really hot women are and get used to it. Don't just sit there and stare at them all day. Act like it's not a big deal to walk by and see some super hot chick. Like, get used to being around them, you know? Get used to how they talk, what their insecurities are, what their fears are, what they want, you know? How they act around people, the lies they tell, the truths they tell, you know? Just understand them better. Get a job at a strip club. Be a bartender somewhere. Even if you get paid shit, do it on the weekends. Who cares? Just do it for fun. Learn how to be a bartender and go be one. You know? It just changes things. It'll give you a different perspective. You can see that you don't have to change anything about your character in order to have women be attracted to you. All you gotta do is stand behind a fucking bar and make everybody else need to get drinks from you. You know? It's really not that complicated. You have something that everyone else wants. Girls see that, so they want you. The end. You know? So go practice getting in that position. Get comfortable there. You know? Get used to it. Because you got to get used to women liking you and women being around you. You know? So you got to put yourself there. Use jobs as a way to do this. Don't use everything in your life as a way to do it. You don't need to quit everything that you're doing and start over from scratch if you don't want to. You know? If you're just trying to get better at this, then shit, man. Find a way. Go, if there's a Hooters, go, you know, if you can only be a busboy and they won't hire you for anything else, go be a fucking busboy. You know? And just talk every once in a while. Joke, banter, practice there. Don't try to take them home, you know? Just get used to it first, you know? You can't take home a girl that you can't stand next to without shit in your pants, you know? If you're shaking and you go to bed and she notices you're shaking, she's going to know eventually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't fake it for that long, so you got to get used to it. You got to demystify it a little bit, you know? I was a bartender. I was a server was another one. You know, I just said, all right, let's see if I can practice psychology and get more tips than everybody else. And I could, you know? Easy. This stuff works. It works everywhere, not just with women, you know? Anyway, that's what I would say.
Okay. So this is a kind of fun question. So if you were to train me for 4 weeks for a seducing women competition, and you had $1 million on the line,
oh my,
what would the training look like? 4 weeks.
I would, for seducing women.
Right. Let's say attracting and seducing women.
Okay, well that's different. Okay, attracting and seducing. Okay.
No, all right. Let's go with seducing.
Okay, seducing. Sure. Okay. So, to turn women on sexually. The first thing I would do is have you master eye contact. Would be the first thing I do. If you look away for any purpose whatsoever, I would have to continue training you until there's no situation in which you look away. You break eye contact. None, right? For no reason. Like we used to do this. I took a guy once into a strip club, and I told the stripper, I sat him right up front, gave him ones, like 50 ones.
Yeah.
And I said, look, if this guy looks anywhere but in your eyes, tell me. I'm going to embarrass him. She goes, okay. And I told him, look, this girl knows that you're not going to look anywhere else but in her eyes. If she notices you look anywhere else but her eyes, she's going to embarrass you. And I will too. And it will not be a small deal. And he was like so terrified that he held eye contact with his stripper the whole time. She was like taking off all of her clothes, dancing all around him on the pole, and he's just locked on eye contact the whole time. That would be the first thing I'd teach. Like, if you can hold eye contact with somebody while someone else is screaming in your ear and threatening to hurt you, you know, and no matter what's going on, you can hold eye contact, then you can move on, right? That's the first thing, because that's fucking crucial. It's really crucial. If you keep breaking eye contact during seduction, it's because you're trying to break tension, you know? There are times in which breaking tension is a smart idea, because tension may lead to reservation in somebody, right? But during seduction, that's not how it works. If you're going to seduce somebody, you don't have time. If it's a seduction contest, you don't have time to go around with the women and work with the women that are not interested in being seduced by a man, you know? So those women are going to be the women who are interested in seduction are going to be turned off by your looking away, you know? Women who are in seduction mode, who you can get in seduction mode by just making solid eye contact with them and not breaking it, you know? So it's like a dominance thing, right? And then when I break eye contact, even now or at any point, I train myself to do it for context, you know? If there's something that's really important that you need to hear, I'll be like, boom, you know, and I won't look anywhere else. And then this is so that you can keep eye contact and notice me looking away. You know, there's a reason for doing. I do everything, you know. And there's a time in which you will want to be able to look away and break eye contact whenever you want to. But every time you do it, you send a message. And when you're with a woman, as far as seduction goes, the message that you send when you look away is, I'm nervous. Because I haven't done this very often, you know, which means I'm about to be terrible in bed, you know. So that's one. The next thing I would do is I would teach you how to triangulate, no doubt about it, right? That was important. I would teach you how to tease, too. I would probably have to have you sit in front of, like, a pile of donuts after not having eaten for, like, 2 days, you know? Because really, that's what it's like. You see what you want. She's right there. She likes you. She wants to kiss you. She goes in to kiss you, and you have to lean back and smile, and then lean in again and kiss her, but then lean back. Tease like crazy. You have to be able to delay your own gratification, you know? Does that make sense? So you want to be able to dangle the thing that she now wants, not the thing that you want, right? You get this all the time. You have to be comfortable with that, you know? That's another thing. You'd have to believe that this is something that's normal for you, you know? Yeah, you have to believe that it's normal to go up to a girl you never met before, make solid eye contact, and tease her, triangulate, and be seductive.
So how would you get someone to that point?
You have to start out by pretending like someone that you can think of that's really good with women. Pretend like you are them, because then you get the movements down, and then you erase them from the character, and then you deconstruct what it is that you're doing differently, and add on the eye contact and the other parts. That's it. It's that easy. You could do that. We could have 3 weeks to hang out after that. You know? Okay. But that's really all it is. It'd be 3 weeks of practice, really.
Practicing focused eye contact.
Focused eye contact.
Teasing.
Teasing now, not just like teasing whenever you know at any point you can make out with her or have sex or whatever it is, and she wants it, and you know that if you push further, she may lose interest, right? But you do it anyway because you like to tease, right? Because it gets you going. You like it. It's a cool thing, you know. She squirms a little bit, and that's kind of fun for you, right? So that's how it has to be.
Okay.
And then what was the last one you said? You said it was eye contact, it was teasing, and then there's one more. One other thing.
I keep thinking of the donuts now.
The donuts. That's the teasing one.
Yeah,
right?
that's the teasing.
You're like already donut exercise in your head. It's got a whole.
Yeah.
It's delicious. Whatever the third one is.
Focused eye contact.
You want to model somebody, basically, as the other one. You want to model somebody that you think is really good at seducing women. Someone not in a role, someone out of character as far as like not in a movie, because movie characters aren't realistic, most of them. You want someone like Russell Brand. He has no business sleeping with gorgeous women, and he sleeps with everyone ever.
Yeah.
That's it. You get his seductive mannerisms. Mm-hmm. You don't adopt the accent, probably. Just keep the mannerisms and figure out what he's doing. He's interpreting everything as sexual come on, really. That's what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And he's being straightforward about everything. Mm-hmm. It doesn't flinch at all. That's what it is. He can be like, look at a girl directly in the eyes and be like, I'm going to stick my tongue up your ass. And not smile. Just be like, it's going to happen. And she might get all nervous and smile and giggly, but he's not going to change.
And he doesn't flinch.
Nope. That's what it's about.
Okay.
So you have to, in order to actually practice it, you need to model at the beginning. And then after you understand modeling works, then you start adding stuff. What?
That just made me think of a scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they're playing a game, and there's a no flinching game, and Dennis is standing next to a dartboard, staring forward with his hand on the dartboard, and they're throwing darts at him, and they're just like, and he just doesn't flinch, not once, and it's like. Hits, hitting around him. I mean, they're throwing it at his face, and they happen to be hitting the dartboard. But then there's one that goes right into the middle of his hand, and it just starts bleeding, and he still doesn't flinch. He doesn't move at all. And they're just like, he's a machine. It's impossible. So maybe that would be part of the 4-week exercise.
I guess. I don't know.
The no flinching exercise.
Yeah, I do that at your own risk. That one.
All right. Well, since we wrapped up seduction in pretty quickly, let's explore that for attraction. Attraction competition. I guess this would be, having most consistent results of,
I'd say it's phone numbers. That's the easiest way. Getting phone numbers, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if the end result,
what would that 4-week training look like?
The first thing would be you'd have to learn how to banter and use negative body language at the same time. That's really crucial. So that would be the way I would probably train you for that would be to keep you in character all the time as if it was a real scenario, or have a girl here, basically. And then have her reject you constantly. And then have you keep bantering back. Like, so the way to practice with somebody else is like, for example, you say a banter line to me.
You look like trouble.
They'd be like, that's ridiculous. And then you say,
that's because you're ridiculous.
Okay, right. So that's how it would be. It would be nonstop practice like that, right? Okay. So I'll say it to you, right? You look like trouble, and you reject me.
Is that some kind of pickup line?
Look, I know that you're nervous around me, but stuttering isn't really gonna make me like you more. I mean, it probably works with some guys, and I find it endearing. But if you're nervous, we can slow down.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep rejecting me.
Well, that's weird. So I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over here. But if you do actually leave, then I wouldn't continue with this banter.
Oh, okay.
I would go to the next person, or the group next to you, and win them over in a more playful way, so that then you would be like, maybe I shouldn't have rejected that guy, which you would do. If you don't say,
weird. Why did you say that?
Right. Okay. So to that, I might say, and I have said this, it's funny how your taste in men kind of revolves around personality traits like weird. I mean, it's okay that you're attracted to weird guys, but I bet a lot of guys who are weird probably find that offensive.
Okay.
So I'm just assuming that you're attracted to me,
Constantly.
And yeah, but now I'm having my conversation. Now you have to reject me again, right? And I've already pattern interrupted you. Yeah. You're not going to reject me again at this point. You're going to go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then now I have it, right? Yeah. Now I'm like, well, you have certain personality traits that you're attracted to in other people, and those are probably based on people that you were around when you were young in some kind of way, Like who in your family is kind of nerdy in a way that you find endearing? Anybody? Or who was the last person that you met that was like that, Mm-hmm. Or do people judge you for being attracted to kind of nerdy guys every once in a while or weird guys every once in a while, Because people can judge you for that. I'm not asking you if it's true. I'm just assuming that you're attracted to weird guys because you called me weird. So you must be attracted to weird guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll just keep going with this. It doesn't matter. And it'll keep going until you either go, as a woman, you either go, okay, this is fun. Or you go, I'm going to go over here, and then I work the room, and then you come back. That's how that works. But that would be the practice, right? The practice would be constant rejection and constant rolling.
Okay.
You know, next.
Okay.
And then you get to the point where you can get into this with a girl you've never met before, and you can roll with it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then all you got to do is do that constantly while using negative body language, qualify her, and then get her fucking phone number. And the way you get her phone number is you hand her the phone and you say, before we continue, or not before we continue, actually, you'd say, I might have to leave in a minute, so why don't I go ahead and get your number now? And you hand her the phone while you're talking, and then she takes it, or why don't you go ahead and write your number down? And then I'll text you in a bit and let you know where we're going or whatever, right? So I teach you how to get a phone number.
So if you practice this, like, response to rejection banter thing,
mm-hmm.
that's pretty much you can go forever. I mean, you can go into any place ever, talk to anybody, and you're not getting rejected. I mean, you are, but it's like,
part of the
cool.
plan.
It's practice.
Yeah, it's how it is.
You're practicing my game. I like this game.
This is how the game really is, by the way. Yeah. It's really like this. You get rejected, and that's a move. You know? It's a move on the chessboard, right?
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It's not actually rejection.
Yeah.
You know? It's like this. It's like, I see it now like we're playing a chess game, and she puts a pawn forward, and she goes, checkmate. And I go, okay, your move. And she's like, checkmate. Like, she just keeps saying checkmate like it's going to work.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
You know? But I don't buy into that, because it's not actually checkmate. I can
Right.
see that it's not, you know?
Right.
It's checkmate whenever my king is in checkmate. And I look around and I go, oh shit, yeah. you got me on that one, yeah. But when you move in the beginning, I know there's no way she could reject me, because she doesn't know how awesome I am, which means she doesn't know how terrible I am either. So if she's acting like I'm just terrible, she's guessing.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know. She's just doing this because it's her natural behavior.
She's putting her move forward.
That's her move.
It doesn't matter. There's no emotional connection to that. There's no judgment about it. That's just her move.
Yeah.
And it's yours to respond to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or run away from him if you don't want to play, because she just says checkmate, you know?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I know that just because she says something that sounds like rejection to me doesn't mean that she's rejecting me, you know? So I don't trust it in the beginning. I'll go banter a few times like this, and then if she wants to leave, she'll be like, I'm going to go over here, and she'll leave, you know? Or she'll ask me directly and, like, have a serious conversation with me about leaving, you know? But that did happen a lot in the beginning to me.
Mm-hmm.
But not because it's going to happen to everybody in the beginning, but because I didn't know fucking anything.
But you didn't have the other components. You didn't have the body language. You didn't have
didn't have anything.
other stuff going on.
I was just practicing one thing that I thought might work, you know?
But then later, when you started getting the other stuff down, you had practiced that one thing so much that could get you into any interaction you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. It's really just about, guys stop because they don't know how to answer. So you just practice coming up with responses that are within the realm of banter.
The ability to come up with a response is just a skill that you can just practice.
Yeah, it's like any other skill.
It's not like having been born with, like, being funny or whatever. Like, it's just simply a skill.
Yeah. And I don't take what I'm saying seriously, and they don't take what I'm saying seriously. It's just basically to show them that that I'm used to interacting with beautiful women, and that I don't need this to go anywhere. We can just have a good time chatting and flirting, and that's it, you know? And my demeanor's like that and everything, because that's the truth now. But it wasn't at the time. I was like, how do I do this, you know? I had to convince myself to look to be better, to try to be better instead of trying to, you know, attract women. And that's what happened as a result. That's what I would do in the attraction contest, basically.
Okay.
The whole time. And then teach you how to get really good at doing whatever the closing technique is, which here is like getting a phone number, you know?
Yeah.
Closing the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you wouldn't even need them to answer, so you don't need to go into rapport. They don't need to answer the phone. They just need to give you the phone number in this contest, you know, theoretical contest. And then...
You just made a cool $1 million.
Yeah, made $1 million. But, you know, it's really about the results at the end of the day. What works fastest, and that's what that's really about, right? Attraction. You want to get really good at attraction really fast?
That's the biggest hurdle of attraction is rejection, a fear of rejection. So if you come in and you've already trained, if you only train in one thing, which is a response to what other people perceive as rejection, holy shit. I mean, that's a life changer.
Yeah, that's it. That's the core to everything, you know? So what you gotta do, though, is you gotta start out in a situation that's more comfortable, where the person, like this kind of situation with your friend or whatever, then you move over to people who you aren't attracted to, women you're not attracted to, practice with them, and then move your way up to women that you are attracted to. You know?
And this is exactly how you get the mentality where you're like, fuck, nobody's rejecting me. I gotta go somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, you're in a place where you're about to master every skill you ever want and be amazing at everything. You know,
if you use the same
that mentality that might seem foreign, or it may have seemed foreign even when we mentioned it,
or even silly,
like an hour ago. Well, how do I start to like rejection? Well, that's it. You know, that mentality.
It's practice.
Is that's overcoming the biggest fear of attraction, which is rejection.
But most guys try to start out with like the hardest thing possible, and when you do that, you know, it takes you a while to figure it out. That's cool. But if you don't think that you can handle that much rejection, start out with doing it in a mock scenario, and then move on to the next step. Constantly go, okay, I think I got this here. Could be like 5 minutes, you know, with your friend. I think I got it. Okay, I'm going to go talk to this ugly girl over here. You can do it at the bar with each other, you know. Then you go talk to a girl you're not attracted to. Maybe she rejects you. Awesome. Say it. Next thing, you know? And then if she throws a drink in your face, come back, practice with your friend again, and then go to another girl you're not attracted to. It doesn't matter then because you don't care, right?
Yeah.
So you can let that go. And then move up. After you get comfortable with that and it's working a bunch and you trust it, move up to the next level. And then it doesn't work anymore at that level, and you got to practice it more because you're changing your behavior, you know? More attractive. And then eventually you can walk up to any woman, and you're not afraid of rejection anymore because you know how to react. Instead, you're focusing on other parts of the conversation, you know? How to build rapport, things like that, you know?
That's always something, you know, that I've seen with people. Once they get good at something, they try to figure out what they did, but all they can really see is where they are currently. So, like, something like, you know, somebody saying, well, just man up and go do it. Well, they probably went through a process to get to the point where they could say to themselves, hey, man up and go do it. But they don't remember that process anymore.
No, so they're just saying the result now.
Now that all that they're saying is man up and go do it. So then somebody who hasn't been through that process is like, whoa, how do I man up? Right. I don't know how. I don't have that program in, you know.
Run man up program.
Yeah, run man up program. That program doesn't exist. So, I mean, this is really awesome because this is a deconstruction of the process you went through to the point where you could say something like, well, look, you have to like being rejected. Yeah. You know? This is how you do it.
Yeah, because you're training for an attraction contest.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
just train for an attraction contest at all.
Yeah, we could have one. We could have an attraction contest, like, for our members. That would be awesome. Maybe we'll do that at some point.
1 million Tao of Badass.
1 million pesos.
1 million rupees. All right, so this has been pretty amazing. I think everybody will get a lot out of it. I have one kind of final wrap-up question.
Okay.
And that is, what does the progression of becoming a badass with women typically look like? You've seen a lot of guys go through the process, and kind of you've met people at different stages on the road. What does that kind of look like? Starting off.
This is as different as many people go through it. So it's, you know, I can think of some common threads though.
Or maybe common signposts.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah, I think that in the beginning, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of jumping in and just trying to figure things out. You know, reading the book and a lot of practicing of little things. You know, and then ultimately we get to the stage of reread number 1. You know, where guys go back through and they go, okay, what did I miss? And then that's when they actually start learning. That's when things really work, you know, because they reread the book and they go back and they see 9 things they didn't see before. They're like, oh my God, I didn't even notice this. And then they start applying those things and they reread the book again, and then it happens again and they reread, you know, and they go through more content every time. The same thing they've already seen. There's so much in the Tao of Badass. If you read the book once and you're not awesome, it's because you missed like 99 things, you know?
It's totally fine. You got that one
That's how
thing.
it works. That's how we work. So you have to
it.
know. You have to know to continue and go back and reread. You have to know that. You know, I read... Anytime I do something, I find the book that's the best book on what it is I'm looking for, whatever it is, and then I reread it until I understand completely what the fuck they're talking about. You know? I'm reading a trilogy right now. This is my second time reading them, all 3 books, and I'm about to start reading them my third time too. That's what you have to do. You know, I read a book when I very first started this process. I read a Zen book that helped me realize all the stuff that was fake. I read that 15 times, and the same book, you know, and like every story, like I'd never read it before. I didn't skip anything unless I read it and I didn't get anything. I'd move on, you know. But eventually, I could understand everything in that book. You know, if you can understand and you know everything in the Tao of Badass, you will be a badass woman. That's how it is. You know, not just that, but all the stuff that's online too, like the body language mastery courses and everything, all the other how to date multiple women and all those other products as well. If you really know what's in that, you'll be awesome. The reason why you're not fucking amazing is because you don't know all that stuff. Because you read it and it goes in one ear and out the other most of the time, and then sometimes it lands. Because that's how we work. If it's just sometimes you got to hear something 100,000 times before it makes sense. You know. So I would say that. Every time they reread the book, they enter a new level. It's almost like clockwork, you know? I reread the book and I realized, blah. That's like, you're at advanced level the second time you read it almost. Probably the third time for sure. When you start the third time, you're advanced already, you know? First time you're a novice. The first time you're not even started yet, really. The second time you're a novice. The third time you're advanced, you know? And you understand the concepts more. Because those guys are the guys that when I meet them in person, I'm like, you understand this shit, you know? Mm-hmm. I can tell they read the book more than once. And they talk like they have too. They ask me about advanced concepts. You know what guys don't ask me about if they read the book once? The belief creation process that I have in the book under the confidence chapter. But guys who've read it 3 times, on their third time, they're like, holy crap. Mm-hmm. This is the key to everything I've been looking for. You can't see it in the beginning because you're looking for other things.
First time you read it, you're looking for, you know, what do I say to a girl?
Yeah. It's just a change. As you grow, it grows with you.
Yeah.
You can reread it. That's how I designed it. It wasn't easy to design like that. So use it, you know. You can just keep going with it. And every time you do it, you'll be like, holy crap. Until eventually you'll know everything that I know. And then you'll have no more questions. Around women, at least, you know. If you reread and you practice, you're fine. If you reread and you don't do this stuff or apply the stuff that you learned last time, then you'll get the same shit the second time as you did the first time, and it won't be any improvement. You have to read it once, apply it, read again, apply it, you know, as much as you can. 1 for 1. The 1-to-1 knowledge to application ratio. So that's what it looks like really. It's kind of like everything changes about the person who reads it the second time as the person who read it the first time. Everything's different about them. They're a completely new human being. And then it happens again, you know, and again and again and again, until eventually they understand, you know. Sometimes it happens after 3. They got it. They're done. Sometimes 4, you know. Sometimes 20. Most guys never continue that far. They just give up after a certain point and start to get some results, and then they stop, you know. When I read something that seems like success to most people, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, failure. Like, the guy goes, hey, I read the book, and it's only been a week, and I got a girlfriend, and thank you so much.
Right.
I'm like, failure.
Yeah.
You know? Because you're looking for success instead of looking to master, you know. And then a month later, it's like, oh my god, it didn't, you know, it worked, but then what do I do? What do I do? Yeah. What do I do? And then they're trying to lay the tracks before the train, you know, just trying to fix it just enough to continue, and then they're frantic again, and they're not in control anymore. It's only a matter of time before the girl is unattracted by that and leaves, you know. So that's a common failure I see, but really the process itself is, man, I mean, it can go anywhere. It can take you anywhere. You can find yourself learning to be a trapeze artist all of a sudden if you think it'll help your process and progress. But it's really about however many times you read the book helps you focus. If you read the book twice, you're twice as focused as anybody who's read the book once. That's really how it is. That book has pretty much everything you need in it to get you 90% of the way there, and the rest is all in the members area, and you can handle as you go, you know. And then we cover in videos like this, but these are more like, you know, these are deeper. These are more serious and And this is more advanced stuff that we're talking about. This is the kind of stuff that, to somebody who has read the book 3 times, they would be furiously taking notes, you know? And to somebody who's read the book once is looking at this video in total awe and confusion. Like, how can someone exist like this, you know? So read the book again, you know, or finish reading the first time. If you haven't finished, a lot of guys don't even finish. They just get a few things that works and they move out and they do it, you know? Continue. That's what it's about. So,
okay.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's my pleasure, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys later.
Oh, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Yep.